This video is of an object that I call the Borg. It's an object several hundred light years from Earth. This image is found on Google Sky at RA 7 hours 21 minutes 40.43 seconds, and the DEC is 42 degrees 53 feet 50.66 inches. It's an object that I call the Borg because of the unusual shape of the object. As you can see, it's like a square object in space. And I want somebody that knows a little bit about this format of imagery that can help explain to me what this object actually is and why. I mean, I know what I think it is, and I've studied this image quite a lot, and it just seems pretty strange that the object here is blocking light from behind it, where it's actually quite obvious that there's an edge to this object. It's not an anomaly in the information coming from the Hubble Space Telescope. It's an actual anomaly that's actually in the image taken, because as we go around the whole edge of the image, there's just too much information in here that's not really up to date with what I think in my mind is normalcy in the image of this. The capability of the telescope is pretty accurate, and for there to be this much information cobbled together like this is just, it's mind-boggling what this object is. I wish I could explain it better, and I wish I could understand it better, because it's pretty complicated looking stuff here. I don't think the scientific community is really going to have an easy time explaining this. Partially because the amount of detail that's in this image as you can see. I'll come upon areas that I found here, like their information that's in here. If you follow the cursor, there's a little too many shapes and too much architecture going on in there. And then on top of that, you see this line right here? It's clearly visible where the telescope takes images and compiles them together like a mosaic of pictures, where it takes one picture of the sky here and it moves, and then it takes another picture of the sky here and it moves, and it keeps on going until it compiles a complete mosaic across the night sky of all the pictures, thousands of pictures that it has taken across the whole entire night sky. And that's what that line is right there, is the accuracy of the camera and the computer that's on the camera on the satellite of the telescope is so highly advanced and accurate that that's what's creating this line right here, is where the computer knows to match the two images from where it took one image here and one image there, and it puts them all together so that way we can compile the information together and see what's actually in the area that they're trying to depict as the picture. So that's pretty much proof right there that this, whatever this object is actually in the actual image and not a piece of some sort of like anomaly in the information, because of that line shows that that image, whatever this object is actually in the actual images of the separate images that the camera has taken. And when it puts those images back together to show that region of space, this thing shows up right on target on every image because the computer's that accurate that it's able to do what you can see here. That line right there is the two images put together right there. So as we move along this object, all this other information shouldn't be there. And whatever it is, it's very interesting to me because it seems highly complex structure that some sort of city in space. Because the amount of structure in some of these colors in some of these areas, there's just too much geometrics in it. That's not explainable on any kind of reasoning for what anybody could say why this image, why this stuff is even here. And the amount of details in it are pretty creepy looking because of the edge of it. As you can see here, actually has, there's another one of the lines from the mosaic pictures, the mosaic of all the pictures together. You can see it here, where there's 4 separate images that have been placed together by the computer. But when you zoom out of that and you move over a little here and you go over here and you, what is all this, all these different light sources, see all those X's right here, those are separate light sources from any camera. When you take an image of light, it throws out those little crosses of light where the light's glaring into the lens. Why are there so many different crosses? Must mean that there's separate light sources within that same source of that same area of light. There's multiple sources of light within that same region of area that's lit up. See what I'm saying? So where is all this information coming from if it's not actually there? These shapes and these, it looks like some sort of like, looks like buildings or windows or something in there. When you look at them real close, you can see the difference in the textures of the shape that's in there, and why there's so many different colors and shapes within the same structure. Like here, see all the purples and the greens and the golds and the yellows and the blacks, and then the shapes on top of that. All this information, where all this structure and architecture here doesn't make sense when if anybody was to try to explain to me that, oh, it's just an anomaly in the information or a glitch in the camera that produced this image here. What is this square right here? Where does that come from, and why is it blocking light behind it, as well as having light attached to it? And then on top of that, we remember that the image of the camera is able to put these images together. And then on top of that, why is that showing up in there as showing that the image is actually, whatever this object is, it's actually in that image? Because there's other objects that are exactly the same type of objects. I found probably on the order of a dozen other of these objects in different regions of space. We'll go to one now and show you. We'll go to one that looks like it appears to be turned off, like it's not lit up like the other one. And when you look at the edge of it, it's actually showing an actual edge that's blocking the light behind it from the stars that are behind this area. So if there's an edge here, right here, there's an edge blocking all that light behind it. How come there's an edge here where the picture is compiled and the mosaic's put together by the computer, it shows that line here. What makes these other lines? What makes all these other shapes? And how come they block the light from behind them in a blurred sense of there's the line, there's the line from the mosaic, but what's this line of the object is actually blocking the light behind it. And then on top of that, you got all these different colors. And then we'll go to another one real quickly, where we'll see the Borg that's turned off. Another one over here. And there's several of these objects out here, but they all seem different. And I've noticed also, on top of that, they change. Each time I go and view these objects, I notice something different about them. Like they're turning on and off, trying to make me aware that they're actually in this object and they're actually there. And it's another theory that I've had for years, that I believe that our computers have been trying to talk to us for years to let us know the truth of what's going on. It's just nobody's really noticed some of the signs and some of the communication techniques that I guess computers are tied into trying to communicate to us certain information, and only certain people have been able to tap into that information because of their heightened knowledge and awareness of computers and the way things work and the way these images are actually downloaded and the way they're compiled and everything. All those people have that information and that knowledge, but they're not sharing it with the rest of us, which is quite understandable, because the implications of something like this would be profound enough to create complete chaos on the earth if they were to actually announce this to the world. But it's only a matter of time before the world actually gets to the point where we realize that this stuff is real, because we in hand gain a knowledge of our own, on our own, where it's separate from government control. And sooner or later, it's just a matter of time before people like myself and you guys out there that are playing around with this technology, one day we're going to come across some things that are just going to prove to the entire world that there is life out there, that there is other intelligent life right there before us. And it's just a matter of time before we actually come across things that might be something like this, and that would be a profound time for mankind, that we actually come across an object in space by viewing the Hubble Space Telescope or other advanced telescopes, that we would come across something that would be right on a trajectory where it would show irrevocable proof that they actually exist, that they're there, to let us all know, so that way the government couldn't hide it from us, nobody can hide it from us, because everybody can see it for themselves and know for what it is. And that's what I think that I found here. These objects here are pretty profound looking. Because of the amount of detail that's in some of these areas. And then again, I'll point out that there's the image, the edge of the image, and the mosaic that's put together. They got two separate images here, where the camera takes an image here and an image there, like I explained. So we have that edge here for that image. Why is there another edge here blocking the light from behind the area? All along the edge here, you can run into areas where, and plus there's other areas of light that don't make sense when it comes to points of light in the sky. You can see that image, that edge here of the image. But how come this light in the sky has an edge of its own and all this structure to the edge of it? And there's a lot of